Daytona International Speedway is the site of the regular season finale. I am joined, as always, by Ryan Stevens of WinTheRace.info. Ryan, it is great to see you. I think we should just be honest up front. Daytona is one of the most unpredictable tracks on the calendar. Now even more unpredictable thanks to Denny Hamlin and co. who've helped develop this new drag horsepower numbers, different spoilers, slight decrease. It's going to be a different looking race. No practice either this weekend. So there are a ton of unknowns heading into this one. We'll just start there. I guess, what do you hope to see Saturday night? How do you hope the racing improves?
Well, speaking of Denny, I mean, he said he thinks the racing could be, 20% better. And he's been racing in the Cup Series for over 20 years. So my hope really is that he's somewhat right in thinking that it will be, 20% better. I think the whole point of this is to make handling matter more, putting more in the driver's hands. And when it's in the driver's hands, you can make runs, without six or seven guys needed to follow you in a line and push you there. Maybe that eliminates, some of the fuel saving, because that's a big complaint, people have had with these races, including myself. So I guess that's my hope. My hope is that the drivers are more on edge. They have more of a reason to make runs themselves and not just, get out in that third lane and stall out if six or seven guys don't follow you. So my hope is that Denny is right and it's 20% better, because 20% is quite a bit. So I'm hoping that he's right.
Yeah, and it was interesting, Denny on his podcast this weekend. I don't know if he saw something maybe in the sim or in some sort of data, but he almost sounded, he's not the kind of guy to oversell something, but it almost sounded like he was a little more concerned with how out of control the racing could be on Saturday. So that at least has me feeling a little more optimistic. Well, we do have to get to some of the contenders. We'll do our best to break down what we should expect. I guess we should start with Team Penske. They've been on such a roll lately. Those Fords have been fast. Ryan Blaney won the most recent drafting track race at Atlanta. And, you look at the points. Blaney's trying to hold on to the 2 seed. He has a lot to fight for. Joey Logano's realistically could maybe get up to the 7 seed. Hendrick is 44 points to the good. We know how good these guys have been, leading laps, controlling the draft, often controlling fuel strategy at these tracks the last couple of years. But with how it's going to change, how confident are you that Penske is still the team to beat?
They'll be strong again. I think when we look at data this week, or I guess anyone using, enhanced loop data to win the race, you got to choose, are you going to use Atlanta, not use Atlanta, use a mix of both? I think for our conversation today, I'll say it, the bigger drafting tracks, Daytona, Talladega, and I'll also throw Atlanta in there as well for some of what we talk about. So if we use over the last 2 years at all drafting tracks, Penske's 1, 3, and 4, and the percentage of their laps ran inside the top 10. And if you take Atlanta out, they are 1, 7, 8 in that same stat. So 1, 3, and 4 on all of them. Take Atlanta out, 1, 7, 8. So Atlanta does boost them a little bit there. If you look at their average finish on all drafting tracks over the last 2 years, they're 14th, 21st, and someone's in the 30s in average finish. If you look at only the larger drafting tracks, none of them are top 20 in average finish.
Wow.
So it's been the tale of, the ultimate boomer bust for Penske. They run up front because in that time, they also have wins within the last couple years. If you go back even further, they have even more wins. So they win on the large drafting tracks. They win in Atlanta. So no matter which way you look at it, they have the ultimate boom where they can win. But man, when it goes wrong, it seems to really go wrong for these guys.
Yeah, all 3 Penske drivers have won multiple next-gen drafting races, and yet, as you said, their average finishes, though, still kind of in the toilet across the board. So boom or bust, I think, is exactly right. Let's zero in kind of on Austin Cindric, or really the chase bubble battle happening behind him. Again, this is the regular season finale, one final race to make the 16-driver cutoff. Cindric is plus 44. He's in a pretty good spot. Behind him, it's Shane Van Gisbergen, 31 points ahead of Ryan Preece battling for the final transfer. We know Ryan Preece has his own Daytona demons that he's going to have to overcome this weekend. Shane's still so new at this, but he's had some nice performances. How confident are you that maybe the points bubble is just going to remain as it is? 31 points, a lot to overcome. Or do you think Shane is in real danger this weekend?
Tough to think SVG's in real danger, but anything can happen here at Daytona. I mean, if you're going to make some arguments in his favor here, say this new package does bring more handling into the race. Then you could maybe bring Atlanta into the mix where he's finished sixth place both times this year.
Oh yeah.
But if it doesn't, it's not like he can't do it at this place. Last summer Daytona race, he finished 16th. So he just survived there. You do something like that, you're more than safe this weekend. And if you pull up the drafting matchup between Priest and SVG in the enhanced loop data and win the race, just over the last 2 years, Priest is 7-3 in that matchup. But when you look closer into it, only two of his seven wins over SVG have been by more than five positions. So I do think Priest, he kind of needs a Daytona summer miracle here, but we've seen some weird things happen.
That's interesting. That's good data right there. Well, let's talk about a show favorite here, Carson Hocevar. We like to bring him up, although the last few weeks have not been too kind to him. Mental mistakes at New Hampshire, Richmond, and a little bit of a slide entering the chase. But we've seen how good the 77 is on the drafting tracks. He's had a shot to win all four drafting races this year. Atlanta, Daytona. He did win Talladega. I feel like this new package, if it allows drivers to be as aggressive as they hope they can be, I think that favors Carson Hocevar this weekend. So I'll ask you, do you think this is a good opportunity for Hocevar to turn his recent poor performance around?
Yeah, I had him as the dark horse last week, and honestly, it was feeling pretty good. He had a lot of speed, and then
Third in stage one, yeah.
yeah, I mean, the wildness continues for him, but he's one of the hottest topics this week in the Win the Race Discord. There's half the team kind of saying he's great on this track type, and some saying he's just super lucky, and there's no underlying stats that should say he's good on this track type. I'm on the side that he's good at being where he needs to be when he needs to be in these races. If you look at his average finish on the large drafting tracks of the last few years, he's sixth best, right there with William Byron. And the only Chevy that's better is Chase Elliott. And there's only 8 drivers who have top tens in half those races. The only Chevys are Elliott, Bowman, and Hocevar. So when we're talking about who makes it to the end of these races and finishes well, Hocevar is right up there in the conversation with Hendrick Motorsports guys as great company to be around on these tracks. And that's only looking at the larger drafting tracks. If this ends up looking a little more like the Atlanta races, then his stock only rises from there. When you add Atlanta in, only Tyler Reddick has a better average finish over the last few years than Carson Hocevar. So I think he's going to be strong. And if the handling does play a part, he's the one that we've seen kind of cut through the field and get to the front.
He is the ultimate lone wolf we've seen at Atlanta. So if drivers are able to make moves in the draft more or less on their own, slingshot, slipstream, all that, then I like that. I think Carson Hocevar absolutely will be a factor. You talked about Hendrick there. Let's talk about Hendrick here. They're also battling for a key points position. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson are separated by 1 point for the 7-8 seed right now. And they're only about 20 points behind Chase Briscoe, so they could still maybe creep back into the top 5, top 6. Who's your top Hendrick pick this weekend? Is it one of those two guys? Are you looking at Byron, the 2-time Daytona 500 winner? Who's caught your eye out of the Hendrick camp?
On HMS, I think Chase Elliott caught my eye the most this weekend. I do think there is that skill of being around at the end of these races, and Elliott seems to do just that. He leads the way with Buescher with 4 top 10s in the last 6 larger drafting track races, including 4th place finishes in both of those races this year, and a nice 10th place last summer at that Daytona race. And again, if this is more like Atlanta, not saying it will race like that, but that doesn't make me change my thoughts on Elliott at all, who's won there in the Gen 7 races. So, yeah, I really like Chase Elliott in that camp.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point right there. And Toyota, I guess we haven't talked Toyota too much yet. I was looking at some data. I saved the really hard-hitting stuff for when you and I sit down and have these conversations. I like to be surprised when you hit me with some of these really crunchy numbers. But I did look at this at Daytona and Talladega this year. It's just 2 races. But 4 of the top 5 in laps led this season are Toyotas. That did surprise me just a little bit. We know Reddick opened the year with a win in the Daytona 500. So which Toyota drivers, I guess, stand out to you heading into this weekend?
Yeah, I think you stick right there with 2311 specifically when talking about Toyotas on these tracks. Reddick and Bubba, their stats versus finish have some pretty decent splits here that I thought were interesting. On the larger drafting tracks of the last few years, Reddick has the 17th best average running position, but the 1st best average finish. And then Bubba, the complete opposite, 3rd best average running position, 23rd best average finish. So it's hard to go against Reddick here as my favorite Toyota. He's won top Toyota in 3 of the last 6 larger drafting tracks, And if you throw Atlanta in there, he's won top Toyota in 5 of those 10 races. So that's just a crazy accomplishment with how these races can go. I really think it speaks to his skill level on this track type nowadays.
Yeah, wow. So 5 for 10, not just of 2311, but out of all the Toyotas. Yeah, that is impressive considering how random these races often feel. We'll wrap up here, Ryan, as usual, with our dark horse picks. Dark horses are fun to talk about anytime you come to Daytona or Talladega. Again, I looked at some data for this season. Daytona and Talladega, those 2 races, only 4 drivers scored top 10s in both of them earlier this season. 2 jumped out to me, Zane Smith and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. In fact, Zane has 5 top 10s in the last 7 drafting tracks all around. Do you have any dark horses to watch? I was surprised to see how good Zane Smith has been the past couple of years.
Yeah, he's been great. I remember we talked about him on the most recent drafting track when we did that preview. I love Ricky Stenhouse this weekend. I mean, he's a boomer bust guy. He's not like Penske where he's running up front all the time, but he is in the fact that he's either, checkers or wreckers on this type of track. So, but I'll mention one driver here, a teammate of Zane Smith. And I'm not talking about the $1 million man. I'm going to talk about Noah Gragson.
Ooh.
And he has 16 Cup Series races on the larger drafting tracks, and he's finished top 10 in over 30% of them. And he just missed one with his 11th at Daytona earlier this year, and then came right back and finished 9th at Talladega. And he has a little nice, 3-race streak of top 20s going on now. I think he top 10 last week snuck in there. So maybe he keeps some of that momentum, completely different track style, but momentum's a real thing. Maybe he just keeps that going and we can see another strong finish from Noah Gragson here. So I'm going a little further down the list this week, but yeah, give me Noah in this section.
I like that. Yeah, Noah always strikes me as kind of a streaky driver. He's got a good streak going right now after signing that 1-year extension with Front Row Motorsports. Good vibes for the vibes man over there in the number 4 Ford. Ryan Stevens, really appreciate you taking the time. As always look forward to these weekly race previews. Fans, if you're looking for even more, we cited a lot of data, a lot of numbers. If you want to dive in deep for yourself, head to wintherace.info. Link is down in the description. And Ryan, you guys do the draft every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. What can fans look forward to this week at Daytona and looking ahead to the chase?
These drafting drafts are some of the most fun because we're going to draft a driver from 8 different teams plus the bonus driver. And really, there are no wrong answers on the show always, but really when we get to these drafting tracks. So we're going to talk about a lot of different drivers, I think, tonight. So good chance you hear us talk about your favorite driver. Tune in, 8:30. Should be a lot of fun.
Your draft boards will look probably about as jumbled up as the pack itself Saturday night.
Yes.
So that's always fun. So be sure to check that out, folks. That link is also down in the description. And tune in again next week. We'll be here talking Darlington, I guess. Chase right around the corner. Ryan, appreciate your time. Thanks for being on.
Thank you. Enjoy the race this weekend.